I was trying to explain that a book about plot to somebody this weekend. I was like talking to one of the other filmmakers, and I was just like, yeah, like I think a lot of times, well, one of the problems is that people write stories from the plot outward and not from the characters inward towards the plot. And the issue with that is that like when you're writing a story like that, it's like characters are making decisions that the plot needs as opposed to the plot being a product of the character's decisions. And like, yeah, just not straight as a story.
I think it goes into the argument like character-driven stories versus plot-driven stories. And I think plot-driven stories can feel a bit empty because the characters aren't necessary. They're more vehicles than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not really people.
And also because it also makes characters like there's and I'll say that says a lot about there's a lot of different movies, but I think Sinners is probably like a really good example of like in Sinners, essentially in that movie, a lot of characters they make decisions because of what has to happen in the plot. And like because they're making those decisions based on it's like decisions are like nonsense. It's like nobody would ever make this decision or would ever do this thing. But like the reaction that I get whenever I'm like bringing it up to somebody, like even when I was talking about it this weekend, I was like, yeah, like the only reason that this character does this is because this is where they have to be at the end of the movie. And the thing that they're saying is like, well, yeah, but like in order to end the movie, in order to have this thing happen, then like somebody had to do that. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like the whole problem is that you're writing so you can appease the plot. And I'm like, what you're not like the problem is that like it creates character decisions that don't make any sense. Whereas like if you write from the base of the character, then I'm like, what would it make sense for this character to believe? And then what would they do with what they believe?
Yeah. I think it's one of the reasons why I tell poets that like you don't really control where the poem goes. I mean, you can, but the end result is going to be a poem that's going to feel a bit forced and probably avoids the truth that would be most surprising even to the poet who's writing it.
Yeah, because or you're preaching at that point. You're preaching, right? It's like if you're like, man, this is how the plot, this is how the poem should manifest, or this is like the lesson that you should get from the poem, then you're reverse engineering what you believe and what you think, and then now you're trying to force the poem to agree with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I started a lot of poems, and like by the end of it, I'm like, I disagree with it. I'm like, how like I don't agree with necessarily, or maybe I agree with on like on a subconscious level, but like you know the me that's walking around and having conversation with people, I'm like looking, I'm like, yeah, I would not think that. I don't necessarily believe that, but I'm like, the art itself is what's important. So like, whatever this thing that I created, like that has to live on outside of me, out in the world, and figure itself out and figure out, who believes in it and what and all that other stuff. And I could separate that from, this is what you believe about. I'm like, no, I don't even typically like write those kind of poems where I'm like, the world is wrong and this is why. Like, I don't think I'm like that kind of artist. But if I was, then like I would hope that I could find like things about the world that surprised me that I didn't see coming.